Hey, what's up guys? Welcome back to another YouTube video. I'm doing this one a little bit differently. We'll be doing commentary over some of my gameplay from the stream of the Cold War beta that we played last weekend. The beta itself, I really enjoyed actually, and I actually found myself waking up each day and wanting to play it, which I haven't felt with COD for a while. Definitely not since probably about Modern Warfare 3. But I thought the Black Ops Cold War beta was a success in a way. I think it had its bugs, and obviously there was some map issues in the game, but generally the gameplay felt kind of fun, and I'm actually really looking forward to when Cold War comes out. And hopefully this also has a positive impact on Warzone and gets me back playing that, because my love for Warzone has dried out a little bit, shall we say. But anyway, into the beta. So in the Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War beta, they released some new game modes. They released Dirty Bomb, which in my opinion is a bit boring, and I don't think it's going to be played at all when Warzone comes out. The only thing I really noticed when I was playing Dirty Bomb was that there was a parachute bug where you couldn't cut your parachute. So I'm hoping they have that fixed for when Warzone comes out. Essentially, you'd run around the map and just plant bombs and fill them up with uranium, and yeah, again, it's a terrible version of Warzone mixed with that money game. I don't even know what it's called. I never played that. Plunder, that's the one. They also brought out VIP Escort, which is essentially search and destroy, but instead of a bomb, it's a president, for example, or the VIP. It is extremely similar to search and destroy, and I imagine once that game mode comes out, it won't really get played. The noticeable difference is when the VIP begins extraction, it calls out what site they're extracting on. It made it interesting. It was kind of quick, way too quick for S&D. But I think S&D still reigns supreme over this game mode and probably won't be played too much. At the beginning of the beta, they had a different game mode. They originally had Ground War, where teams would capture one of 5 flags. They'd both be going for the same flag and try and push forward into the other team's base and push the spawns back, and so on and so forth until one team won. This is obviously quite a popular game mode from Battlefield. Call of Duty itself hasn't had a lot of success, I think, in its bigger game modes as such, but it was okay. I don't think it was a lot of fun, and I was really happy when they actually changed it out for large-scale domination, where it was essentially domination with 5 flags or more. And it worked pretty well on most of the maps. There are some map issues that I'll get into in a little bit. The only one I will say is Cartel. Before it switched over to large-scale domination, the game would be over extremely quickly when playing Ground War, but when they changed it to domination and obviously had 5 capture points, it worked really well on Cartel. And that brings me to the maps that we played on for the larger game modes, which were notably Cartel, Armada, and Crossroads. Now, I'll get this out of the way early. Crossroads is one of the worst maps I've ever played on in my life. Whoever thought that was a good idea is an idiot. Essentially, the map is extremely wide open, and it's just Sniper's Paradise. You feel an achievement just actually making it to the objective. There are motorbikes and cars and such and tanks, but it does make it difficult if you lose those essentially and have to try and push into the objectives on foot, and is just asking for you to get picked off and run a negative KD to some guy who's just sat at the back of the map up a hill with a sniper. Cartel was, again, very fun to play on, but when playing these large game modes was over quickly if it wasn't domination. When they changed to domination, it was all gravy. Armada, I actually enjoyed as a map, and I thought it was a lot of fun, and you could take on a lot of different engagements. You could have a lot of long range, short range, mid range, depending on how you wanted to play. But for God's sake, they need to get rid of those boat turrets. I have no idea who thought that was a good idea either. Just having some OP turret on a boat and just letting them fly around, just unable to be killed. Very cool. Yeah, that was definitely some frustration was put in the game from that. I guess it stops people abusing the water too much, but it's too OP for what it is. Now we'll get on to the regular maps that will be found on general multiplayer. So we had to play quick play during the beta. We couldn't select specific game modes. We played games like TDM, Kill Confirmed, Hardpoint when they brought it in on the Sunday, and Domination. I felt that they worked pretty well. Also playing Control. That was quite a good game mode too. When we played on Miami, they announced it in the reveal for multiplayer, and when the creators were talking about it, they mentioned it was Sniper's Paradise, and I was really worried it was going to be someone sat at the back of the map all game. But I sniped on this map quite a lot when I was playing it specifically, and I felt like there was ample opportunity to move around. One of them just has a good overlook on one side of the spawn, and if you get there, you're pretty much going to get challenged because most people expect you to go there. So it wasn't really too ridiculous. I did play some SMGs and ARs on this map too when we were playing games like Control, because obviously got to help the team out. But it felt pretty smooth. I didn't think it was terrible, but I know it's definitely not one of the community's favorite maps so far. Speaking of favorite maps, I've got to go with Moscow for me. I really enjoyed that playing it. There was a lot of good angles and different engagements you could take, and I'm really excited to play more. Most of the game modes I played on this, I think, worked really well. TDM, kill confirmed, hardpoint, no matter what the spawns were, it seemed to be relatively balanced. I don't think I ever spawned behind anybody, and I was like, oh, wow, I can't believe that's just happened. So it was all pretty good, to be honest. Cartel, again, in terms of the smaller game modes, it's a lot of fun to play on. Obviously, one of the bigger maps, but it doesn't feel too big in that sense that you'd be running for ages, and it's horrible. The only thing is, again, the grass patches in the middle of the map. People could be sat in them, and it's just horrible trying to work out where they are. There's no nameplate indicator coming up through that, which maybe they might want to look at. I don't know, but that's just my 2 cents on those maps. Satellite is another map that I would say is quite sniper-friendly, but generally you can keep out of the sniper engagements by staying on the right-hand side of the map and playing the objectives there. There's plenty of cover. When playing hardpoint, there is one rotation that takes you to the left-hand side of the map, which would put you in danger of the snipers. But again, it's in a dip in the map. There's some stuff to hide behind. You could maybe contest it relatively well. So it's not too sniper-friendly, but it does have its benefits to sniping on, and sniping for me is most enjoyable on this map. I would say that snipers are a lot of fun to play with, but definitely seem too OP in close quarters. And with the maps being designed this way, I feel like they're definitely trying to push sniping in this COD. There's a lot of lucky no-scopes that seem way more consistent and frequent, and on Twitter and other social medias, I've seen some debate about being close-range aim assist in the snipers. I'm not sure how true that statement is, but I've definitely felt like I've been hit by more no-scopes up close and panic shots than I have in any other COD before, and this is only through playing the beta in terms of how often it's happened to me. Whether close-range aim assist does exist or not will probably remain to be seen. I'm sure someone will do a breakdown video on it. So essentially, the snipers are kind of nuts, but I feel I still get hit markers if I'm not hitting them in the upper body, so that could just be my bad aim, but I think the snipers seem relatively fun to use, and I'm going to keep using them. They maybe aren't too OP, but obviously with the extended time to kill in the game, it definitely makes snipers a much more viable option. Also, one thing that I noticed is, especially when playing satellites, one guy kept jump scoping me, and he had like no loss of accuracy for jumping in the air, which we'll see how that works out, and if they plan to change that. But yeah, maybe try that when you get your hands on Cold War, and try just jumping up in the air while scoped in, and apparently you'll hit all your shots. Moving on to the more popular guns, ARs, I felt like I could win some close gunfights with. I wouldn't always lose to an SMG. Obviously, the SMG will have the advantage in those fights, but not too mad. There's a good number of ARs that I tried out, and I'll say there was at least 4 that felt very, very usable, and it's not where one gun definitely has the benefit over the other. For instance, the Grau in Call of Duty Modern Warfare, I felt like there was good guns in terms of the ARs like XM4, the Grau, I don't know how to pronounce that name, I'll get it up on the screen, and the M16, which isn't actually an assault rifle, but it felt kind of nuts. I saw a lot of people running a 3x scope, especially on the bigger maps, and this honestly felt really powerful and a lot of fun to use, but if I was getting slayed by it, I'd be fuming. As well, moving on to the SMGs, I felt like Moscow, that map specifically, and Cartel are very in-your-face gameplay, so the SMGs definitely run rampant on that map. The longer time to kill makes the games and gunfights more challenging, so that's something to consider when running an SMG, especially at long range. But for the essential, the maps that we had in the beta, they worked really well, very fun, very balanced, and obviously there's some benefits to the SMGs and some to the ARs, and the battles seem to be relatively even. I didn't really run shotguns during the beta. These are obviously, the shotguns now are secondary weapons, so they can be equipped in most classes. They're a little bit annoying. The Spas looks a bit mad, kind of fully auto in this one, but it's definitely not one-shot kill, at least if it's not a headshot. There was a lot of multiple shots had to be taken, so it gives you the chance to fight back against them. That being said, the secondary starter pistol definitely seems a bit powerful. It's a 3-shot kill, and if somebody caught me up close whilst I was sniping, I had time to switch to my pistol and win the gunfight, essentially, through shooting them at least upper body, but it would generally work pretty well. Again, moving on to LMGs, I never actually tried the RPD, but I saw someone using it and it had like no recoil. Obviously, I'm assuming it had all mad attachments on it, but if you use LMGs, you stink, to be honest. But the RPD looked kind of nuts, so maybe that could be something. That being as well, coming into the gameplay, stims regen in this COD, which for me, I didn't really play too much of Black Ops 4, I believe it was, where the stims regened, but in Modern Warfare, it was a one-use stim. These stims regen over time, so it's making me feel like if you want to play Cold War, you need to run a stim. Otherwise, you're going to be at a big disadvantage in gunfights, especially when you're re-challenged. And lastly, the main point I would say about gameplay is stuns are ridiculous. They're too OP, not a big fan at all. There's a lot of stuns being chucked at you. You lose the ability to aim down sight and you feel like you've been frozen in time. And it puts you at a huge disadvantage. So don't get stunned, but obviously there's nothing you can do about that. I feel the OPness of this stun is obviously to offset the cost of not running a stim, but it does seem too manic. It is a very big disadvantage to be stunned in a gunfight, whereas before I felt like I still had a fighting chance. I don't know if that's the way they want to push it, but if you get stunned, you're in big boy trouble, basically. Overall, I'm very happy with the beta. I think the maps need some work, and it felt easy to learn the new maps. I didn't really think there was too complex, and it was easy to memorize them. I never felt really lost when I was running around them. They followed a basic format you expect most maps to do, and it was definitely a lot of fun. I haven't had that much fun playing COD for a while. I know there was a lot of complaints about skill-based matchmaking at the start of the beta. I didn't really run into it too much. I mean, I'd also fallen off as a COD player, so I'm definitely around a 1.5 KD player at best on the good days. So it wasn't too bad. On the last 2 days of the beta, though, I definitely felt the skill-based matchmaking was a lot better. So I was definitely having a lot more fairer games. They've also penalized drop shotting, but that just makes the game more challenging and a new element. There's aiming at penalties, for instance, when you drop shot, and there are some certain grips that actually benefit you when you do drop shot. So it does make it more interesting. I think the longer time to kill in this game also makes it a lot more fun than Modern Warfare. For me, I felt Modern Warfare was way too quick, but that's just my 2 cents on the subject. I personally will be getting the full Cold War game when it comes out. I'm excited to see what they do with Warzone and how that interacts, whether they're going to only allow custom loadouts from Black Ops Cold War and drop Modern Warfare. I think that's the big brain move, to be honest, because I'm sure most people buy Call of Duty Black Ops Cold War, and essentially that is that's the big brain marketing idea for the game, to sell as many copies as possible. So it will be interesting to see what happens. Thank you guys for hanging out. That'll bring this video to an end. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your day, and I will see you out there in Cold War. Take care.